recording, and then we have it saved for posterity, and we're recording. All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and mute you guys now. Mute and mute. All right, so we're good. Everybody's muted. All right, welcome to another webinar. We got a few questions up in the group, not too many. We got a couple guys here. Summertime weekend webinar. Everybody's probably at the beach, or if you're landlocked like Ronald and thousands of miles away from a beach, you're just sitting in the heat and suffering. So there's that. So Ronald was actually on the call first. By the way, I'm here drinking a beer in my overalls. It's a relaxed kind of webinar. That's how we're doing it. Ronald, it doesn't look like I can actually unmute you here. If you want to unmute yourself somehow, I just muted you. I don't know if I can undo it. What happened? That's bizarre. How do I unmute you? Huh. I can't unmute either of you guys. What the hell happened? Can you guys click on your screen down there and try to unmute yourselves, either of you? All right, Dennis got it. Ronald, can you do the same? Ronald, I'll tell you what, man. Can you want to drop out and join back in real quick? All right, yeah, go ahead and do that. The technical glitches involved in webinar broadcasts, part of the game. So, hey, Dennis, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, if you got a question or if anything you want to ask, if you want to jump in, I'll be happy to start with you since we seem to be having some technical difficulties here.
No, I don't have anything other than greetings from Kenya, Africa.
Oh, hey, man, cheers. It's quite a long way away.
Yeah, but no real questions. I enjoy your stuff tremendously.
Oh, cheers, man. I do appreciate that. Okay, so I'll tell you what. I'll go ahead and start with the group questions here. And if anybody wants to expound on it or if we want to branch out from there, we can feel free to go ahead. So, Trav, I know you like your plyometrics, but what do you think about isometric exercises for building striking power? And the same for kettlebells. That's actually that's an interesting question. So, hey, Dennis, out of curiosity, as I'm talking, you see my face popping up, right? Okay, cool.
Yes, I see it.
All right, cool, rock and roll. All right, yeah, for some reason, all I saw was you for a second, so I seem to fix that. So, isometric exercises or muscle-on-muscle exercises, I believe they are. What you're building in those cases is predominantly stability. So, what the hell is a good example of an isometric exercise? Sit-ups aren't an isometric exercise because you're actually sitting up against gravity. What the hell? Let's Google this. Let's Google this real quick. Example of isometric. Generate force within the length of the muscle, hand and forearm, responsible for grip. Yeah. So essentially, if you're like, so a sit-up can be an isometric exercise. If you sit up all the way, and now it's your sit-ups, the crunching force of your abs working against the stretching force of your back, now you have an isometric exercise. So it's essentially one side of your body fighting against the other. If I flex my forearm all the way this way, it goes as far as it can, and then it's fighting against the other side, therefore that's isometric. What you end up with is stability in that case. You end up with stability within whatever that joint is. Now, as far as the benefit of that in striking, of course, when you hit something, you want your joints to be stable, and therefore any isometric stability you generated in your wrist or otherwise is going to help. And then obviously the same thing can be said within your core. Now, within your core, I think that it's quite a bit more beneficial because an isometric exercise is going to allow you to balance yourself more effectively, and you actually increase the flexibility on one side of your body if you're doing a torso-related isometric. So, for example, if I was just standing up here and doing a crunch to one side as far as I can, well, now I'm stretching this side, which makes it more effortless for me to slip. Okay, I've broken into this part of my body a little bit. I've loosened that up. This is, of course, strong, so I can execute slipping movements faster. That's good. Rotational flexibility. If you want to go ahead and twist as far as you can and keep on twisting, eventually it's going to be one subset of muscles fighting against another subset of muscles, and the stronger you make any of that, the more balanced you become and the more stable you become. So I do think that's good. Now, the next thing Steve asked about was kettlebells, and how are kettlebells when it comes to striking? Kettlebells, I think, are phenomenal for explosive hip movements. So, for example, if you're doing a basic kettlebell snatch, you have a big round bell thing here, you swing it down between your legs, boom, you fire your hips forward, and then you snatch the weight all the way up. So you're essentially trying to generate as much power and as much force as you can in that particular motion, which comes up all of the time. Just from a striking standpoint, since that's what Steve asked about, if I'm throwing a knee, boom, I'm firing my hips forward, boom. Instead of driving out of two legs, of course, I'm only driving out of one leg. But yes, the ability to instantaneously recruit all of those muscle fibers at the same exact time. Ah, yes, welcome back. You're unmuted and you're good to go. All right, rock and roll. We had some technical difficulties at the start of the call, but back to kettlebells. If you have the ability to recruit all of the explosive hip-firing muscles in the center of your torso at the same time, you're going to have a lot of power in a number of strikes. And in addition to that, controlling that big swinging object is going to breed a lot of stability in other senses, which I think might be a little bit more useful in grappling, but not necessarily so. It all depends. I mean, there's not a lot of kettlebell stuff that you're going to be doing within the natural range of motion of a strike. Most of the kettlebell stuff is either snatched back up to here or snatched up over your head. But again, if you go down and you have to catch yourself all of a sudden, having stability in those joints is going to be pretty useful to you. So there's that. We'll call that one answered. So Ronald, if you want to go ahead and jump in, man, and ask a question real quick while we actually have your microphone functional and all that, might as well go ahead and give it a shot.
The only question I was wanting to ask is because I recently
Hey, I'm having a little bit of a tough time with your mic. You want to try that again? It just seemed like you were cutting in and out there for a sec. I can hear you now.
Yeah. Well,
I can hear you. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. No. Remember I had told you at one time that I had this tear in my right leg?
A tear of which muscle in your leg?
Meniscus.
Oh, a meniscus tear. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just wondering, was there doing my, especially my little thing like that, it would kind of hurt. And is there a certain way that I can do it?
But you're saying you're doing kicks, and
No,
it hurts.
it's still. No, I'm talking about my slips. I'm still kind of like doing just for warm up my slips.
Right.
And
Right.
Little.
So,
And is there a way to go ahead and that way the pain, or is there just
have you had your meniscus repaired yet?
Yes, I already have it repaired, but I still have problems with the slip doing my.
Okay, all right. We're having some pretty tough times with your microphone, but from what I understand, you're having a tough time doing the slips because you got pain post meniscus. surgery, correct? Okay, correct. Okay. So this almost always in a post-surgery environment comes down to a lack of strength within the knee joint, unfortunately. So no matter what happens, when you kind of cut your knee open.
Great, thank you.
Hold on, I gotta somebody here. Christopher, I'm muting you, buddy. Question me. Oh my God, I can't even click this fucking thing. Jesus. Mute. All right. I've defeated your microphone noise, Christopher. Back to what I was saying. When you have a surgery, when you open yourself up, your body has a brilliant way of kind of redirecting your body weight, you might find that when you stand up from a chair, you put all of your weight on your left leg if you had a right meniscus tear. If you really pay attention, you might find that the first time you step up on anything, you step up with your left leg because your brain, in the time that you weren't able to use that thing which was recovering, taught yourself and taught your body how to compensate around it. You ended up working around it. And one of the things that does is it takes away the general functional work that leg was doing, which is keeping it strong. So now you might have less stability in your joint. So every single time you take a step, since muscles aren't as strong as they used to be, they're not holding that joint together. Now you might find that your femur and your tibia, they're rubbing together more, and they're rubbing together more over a spot that no longer has that nice meniscal padding. Okay, so the solution to that is fucking always to strengthen the joint and to strengthen it as much as possible. I actually had a meniscus surgery as well. I had it 2007, 2008, I want to say. Fast forward to 2014, I get diagnosed with arthritis in the knee after putting 10 years of rough work in on the knee. One day I woke up, my knee hurt so bad, I was limping upstairs, yada, yada, yada. Get diagnosed as having an arthritic knee because it was hampering my movement. Immediately I started cycling. Okay, I started cycling, leg extensions, some leg curls, but specifically the cycling, and I clipped into my pedals. So that means that not only was I pushing down with my quads as I was riding, but I was also able to pull up because I was clipped in. So now whatever muscles are actually responsible for keeping those things and pulling those things together are also getting strong. It's literally a 360-degree strengthening range of motion, and I have no knee pain now. And absolutely no knee pain while having been diagnosed with deep cartilaginous fissuring, essentially cartilage cracking down to the bone in even my remaining cartilage, let alone the slice that was taken out. So the long and the short of it is, anytime we have any persistent pain, any persistent joint injury, the first thing that we have the responsibility to do is to make the thing stronger and see how the addition of a little extra muscle stability and even collagen development, because look, your muscles are attached to bone by virtue of ligaments. That's what, I'm sorry, tendons. It's all fucking collagen. No matter what, it's collagen. Your ligaments are collagen, your tendons are collagen, your muscles are all just a different form of collagen. All of that collagen gets stronger with resistance exercise, so now your ligaments are stronger, everything gets stronger, and everything becomes more stable. So I know it blows, and it's some of the most annoying stuff to do, but you're going to have to ride a bike for 20 minutes a day, or every other day, or a half hour every other day. And you're going to have to do these things now that you never previously had to do, just strictly for the maintenance of the joint, and just so that we can do that without pain anymore. And that is the bitch of getting old. Because let me tell you, when I was 20, that certainly wasn't an issue. You fucking break an arm, 6 weeks later, you're back punching stuff full speed. everything was fine. Now there's a whole upkeep process, even just to stay in the game and stay pain-free. But you also owe that to your cartilage too, because your cartilage is going to take more wear and tear if you have less stability. So you're essentially elongating the life of the cartilage as well. So hopefully that answers your question. Bottom line is, you got work to do. Okay, you find an exercise bike where you can both pull up and push down, or go buy a bike. And now when you need to get groceries, you pack a backpack like I do sometimes, and I ride down the street in my fucking overalls. And people probably laugh at me, but it doesn't matter. I'm sweating and buying milk and eggs. And there you go. So rock and roll, man. I'm gonna leave your mic open because there's not any noise being made or anything like that. So just in case you want to jump back in for another question in a little bit, you'll have that the ability to do so. Christopher, you there, man? If you are there and you want to jump in, I do not have the ability to unmute you, but you can click on your picture down there and unmute yourself. I don't know how for this webinar I lost the ability to unmute people, but I'd say that's an egregious loss of power on my part. But if you want to jump in, you're going to have to figure out how. Otherwise, it worked for Ronald when he backed out of the call and came back in. Whatever the case, I'm going to go to the group for the next question. So the next question is, so Leroy Jones seems to be asking a question about the head movement program. Hello, Trav. Curious about the slip right, rear slip, roll right, and slip left, rear slip, roll left in the slipping MP3. I have it in my head that one should only perform the right slip, rear slip, roll right when standing southpaw, and the left slip, rear roll left when standing orthodox. Correct? Hope this makes sense. Nope, not correct, sir. So you need to be able to execute that combo regardless of the side that you're on. So I'm sure there's probably a reason why you feel more comfortable on one side versus the other, but it shouldn't be that way. So a slip right is just my head moving to the right of any punch that would hit me. That boom, boom. So slip right, rear slip, roll right versus slip left. So that's probably where you're going wrong. In an orthodox stance, the slip to the left probably feels less comfortable for you because you have to bring the shoulder forward. Okay, so if this is easy, it's already in the front, boom, there's the slip. Well, now you actually have to execute some type of torso movement, which is why a slip to that side is slightly more energy consuming, but it does load up a nice strike to the other side. So essentially, no, you're going to bring that shoulder in, you're going to pull that shoulder out, and then you're going to roll. One more time, in, out, and roll. Okay, and if you can get a little bit of penetration on that roll, that's good. Boom, 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 and then arguably able to punch in combo from there. So hopefully that answers your question. Maybe I'll give you one shot at the footwork here. So slipping, I just lean back on the right foot and then push off for those other two steps. All right, hopefully that helps and that makes sense. You had another question up there, so let's go ahead and check that one out. And have you ever considered making a knife, handgun, rifle disarming video? I have. However, never disarm a handgun. Never disarm a handgun. Hey Ronald, I'm going to mute you real quick, buddy. Is that okay?
That's fine.
All right, man. I'm going to just because I don't want the video jumping around. I can't even click on your thing anyhow, so God knows if I could even solve this. This might be the most technically inept hangout I've hosted so far. You never disarm a handgun. Is the bottom line. You don't fight a guy with a handgun. Knife disarms don't really work. Have you ever tried any of that nonsense? It's ridiculous. In order to disarm a knife, you have to completely isolate the guy's arm. The guy's arm can't even be in the picture. So if you think he's going to go like this and try to stab, and you're going to grab and do a real quick thing to his wrist, it's not even real. The solution that I've been coming up with, and I've been working on this for about a year, one element of it is to parry cross body. So you have to be careful of getting stabbed. Hey Nathan, you there, buddy?
How we doing, mate? You alright?
What's up, man? Hey, so do you see a little box on your face down there?
No, I just see my face.
All right. Is there any way you can mute your cell phone?
Give me a sec.
Sure. All right. Then when you want to jump in and ask something, we'll rock and roll with that. Normally I can mute you. Oh wait, I can mute you. I'm not gonna be able to unmute you though. Oh, there you go. You got it. Bam. Sweet. Okay. So the one thing I've generated. Jesus Christ. For dealing with knives is you got to move your vitals out from behind the knife. So any type of cross parrying, any type of movement that'll allow you to get the stab or penetrative effect this way. Okay? Stab is coming at me here. I want my vitals outside of that, and I want to be brushing to the side. So normally when I would parry a punch, I would stop a punch dead. Boom, boom. You can no longer do that when it comes to stabbing. All right? So you have to literally move to the side. Who's that? Muhammad? For the love of God, everybody mute themselves. All right, Muhammad, I'm muting you. You're gonna have to click the little button on or your little thing on the screen down there to unmute yourself if you want to jump in. Jesus. All right. Now you've unmuted yourself. Mute yourself again. God damn it. I'm muting you. All right. Thank you. All right. We're good. Back to knife defense. Unlike a punch that you can stop dead in the air, you're going to have to deflect the side of the guy's arm. Okay? So I can no longer stop a punch dead. All of my parries need to brush that thing, that incoming object. Here it is, it's coming at me, blink, to the side. Can't just be getting stabbed in the hands, can't be getting stabbed in the body, so there's going to be a whole lot of very, very small and slight angle changes. Angle changes, all right? Moving my body out of the front of that thing, hoop, while moving it to the side and knocking people the fuck out. Because if you are stuck in a fight against a guy with a knife, and you can't run away, you have to put him to sleep first and foremost. Grappling for the knife, you are going to get stabbed. We play with this all the time, okay? We play this all the time in my dojo. We have big rubber knives, and one thing I guarantee you is that if you were trying to wrestle a knife out of somebody's hand, the guy pulls the thing back, he's got a hold of the handle, that freaking lacerates the shit out of your arm, now you're bleeding out. All right, it's bad. The easiest solution is to use long-range weapons, knock the guy out, put him to sleep, or again, completely isolate the arm. For example, it's hard to even catch an arm when you're using two hands. It's damn near impossible. So you would almost have to take the guy to the ground first, or find a way to isolate the arm and take the guy to the ground so that you can then manipulate the arm and try to break the guy's arm or otherwise. So there's a couple little tips that I'm going to be releasing in a knife defense course at some point, not just yet. I will be making that course because, again, that's something that you could reasonably fight your way through. It is possible. A gun, your best bet with a gun, if you think the guy is going to kill you, is to run. It is much more difficult than you think. I don't know how many people are actually, shoot a lot of guns here. Hey, Sean, what's up, buddy?
What's up, Trav?
Hey, man, I'm gonna mute you real quick by clicking your little face in the bottom. If I even have that ability here.
Can I do that?
So yeah, actually, if you could click your face in the bottom of the screen there, and go ahead and click the mute thing, so that way the video isn't jumping around. Normally I can do that myself, but for whatever reason I can't on this call, so it's a nightmare.
Ryan.
Hey, good to see you, dude. By the way, good to put a face with the emails. I think we just covered all that. But run away from a gun, zigzag. Don't be like who's the young buck in Game of Thrones? Rickon Stark. You guys watch Game of Thrones? No? Don't get hit with the arrow. Run in the zigzag.
No.
Much more difficult to hit a moving target than you think. I do a lot of pistol training. In fact, right here, I just got back from a weekend camp of tactical pistol training. Striking a moving object or even shooting accurately while you're moving is much, much more difficult than you think, so just take the fuck off. So at this point, we got a bunch of guys who have jumped in the call. It looked like, Nathan, you were next. If you want to try to unmute yourself, if you got a question you want to ask, feel free to jump in and rock and roll. I'll see if I can address it for you.
How are you doing, Trav? You all right?
Yeah, I hear you, man. You're good. All right, this is coming around. We've hit solid technical ground here.
Yeah, because I joined the call a bit late, so I don't really know what you guys have covered, but...
All good.
What sort of things have you touched on?
Well, we talked about what happens when you get old and your meniscuses fall apart. We talked about kettlebell training and whatnot. Whatever you want to jump in and ask, go ahead and ask. I'll find something else to talk about regarding that topic. Don't worry about double coverage.
Right, I don't know really. I was just sort of coming in to view the video, but
Totally cool, man. No obligation. You know, I certainly don't have to force a question on you. If anything pops up though that you want to touch on, just unmute yourself and let me know.
No problem, thanks.
Rock and roll, man. All right, Sean, what's up, buddy?
Nothing much. I guess the thing that's been on my mind lately, I emailed it to you recently. I've been working on my head movement a lot. It's been I've been seeing some pretty good results. Last Thursday I ducked a hook punch and ended up eating a side kick and going to sleep for a couple of minutes.
Oof.
So I'm trying to think of things to, I have a tendency to duck a lot though. Instead of like going for the straight slip, I'm usually going in for a shoot, and for whatever reason, we weren't allowed to bring it to the ground Thursday. So and the people I train with, they're superior at striking than me. I usually have a tendency to bring it to the ground, and I was doing a bunch of my slip game, was doing a little bit too much ducking, ended up eating a side kick. And I'm trying to think maybe if I just push off to either side and get out of the way, or what could I do to ingrain into my nervous system to make sure that I never eat a spinning sidekick again.
Spinning sidekick, no less.
Yeah, I didn't even see it. I woke up in the bathroom getting changed, and I came out what happened?
Wow. I woke up, I had met a nice young lady. So, all right, that's interesting. So the first thing that I would mention is that if you didn't even see the kick, there's probably a pretty good indication that you're taking your eyes off the target when you're slipping, okay, depending on who you're going with. So that duck, instead of it being this, might have been like that. Even just blinking your eyes that much can play a role. Now, I remember looking at some of your video the other day, and I don't remember the relationship of your windshield wiper hand. So I slip into roundhouses all the time. So a guy will fake a jab or throw a jab, boom, and he sends a kick up high. So I'll be slipping a jab, and a roundhouse will be coming up my face, boom, and I always cover up, and I'm able to rampage block really fast. So I would like to take a look at your rear hand and just make sure that this can do the job really quick on either side no matter what. And I'm always hiding behind this shoulder too. So I think if you were to side kick this, you might knock me back, you might knock my entire body back, but you're not going to knock me out because you don't have that clean head whipping effect that you need to really slosh my brain around. So I love this as a real quick protection. If you're slipping into a strike, that dude must have exceptionally timed your slip. If you said you were trying to slip a hook and he hit you with a spinning back kick, so what? Did he pulled this and then something in there, or what? You don't even know what happened?
It was we've been working on it, and We've been working on it in the school, and yeah, it's just like whatever it is, like a straight off of one hand and spin right into the kick. You
Right.
know, it almost on like a step off. You know, step off to the side, throw like a hook or a straight, and just spin right into the kick.
Right.
And yeah, I think I remember ducking the hook. I can't remember much after that though.
So
So I definitely have a tendency to drop my right hand, and you know, I probably should have you know, like you said, keeping at least one hand up in front of my face.
even still, if a guy is starting to fire a lot of attacks right down the pipe at chest level, let me go ahead and tell you this first. If I see a guy who's like slipping my jab a lot, I'll throw a 1-2. The first punch will go at his head, boom, and the second punch will go directly at his chest. Okay, so even if you're slipping your head over here, if you look at the point where my chest is, bam, I'm going to catch a shoulder. I'm going to throw off the nice fluid shoulder movement, boom, boom, maybe come back up to the head. Striking the center of somebody's body is a great way to take the slip game away. So if somebody is playing the long distance jab game or whatever, and they're firing front kicks down the middle or boom, into a spinning back kick of some sort, that is going to counter the vertical slip game to a sense, or even a stationary slip game. So the question then becomes to incorporate head movement. If you're trying to force head movement into the mix, how would you do it? I'm a real big advocate of just blasting out to the side, especially when guys are throwing spinning back kicks. In fact, I like moving into spinning back kicks. The second I see that, I'm trying to get right up on the guy's butt. Number one, he has to take his eyes off of me. That one moment his head is spinning around in order to distance the kick. In that moment, that's when I like to get in super tight, because nobody's going to have a powerful kick with their foot all wedged up on their butt there. Okay, so they end up kicking themselves across the room. They go for this spinning back kick, and they go, whoop! They essentially get run into, and then I'm up on them, moving in and trying to cremate them with other stuff. So I would say find a different solution. If that guy is going for major strikes straight down the middle of the body, the slip game is not necessarily appropriate. Okay?
Right.
You can't always force head movement. There's certain guys that I would not, that I just wouldn't play the slip game on. Find a different way to take them out, and again, try to move to the side of those attacks. I like any type of 1-2s into an immediate foot push. So I'll show you the footwork on that real quick. So I'm throwing a jab out here, jab, and just boom, blasting out to the right, and that will get you by any kicks that could have out that way, bink, and you have nice, clear, angular shots kind of coming in. 1-2, boom, moving out to the left, bing, bing, moving away from that straight shot down the pipe, if that's what you're dealing with. Okay? So don't force the slip game. Make sense?
Don't force the slip game.
Don't force the slip.
Yeah, that makes.
Dude, anytime there's a guy who's just effortlessly throwing head kick roundhouses to either side, you can't be straight slipping. You're going to run directly into a fucking head kick. You know, there are ways you can effectively take away this as a game. It's not a solution for everything. If you got the guy who's trying to really establish a jab or he's throwing a lot of combinations, even knees. I'm not going to shy away from the head movement game if people are firing knees at me. But a lot of direct strikes directly down towards the center pipeline, I'm moving off the line for that, and I'm certainly not going to be ducking my head down into that zone. Make sense? I think Sean might have frozen out on us, but he was with me there for a while. He was with me there long enough, I think. All right, rock and roll. Muhammad, what's up, man? I see you on the call.
Hey man, what's up? By the way, I bought like almost all your programs. I think I've bought them. Like they're amazing. They've changed my life.
Oh, awesome, man! Dude, I'm very glad to hear that. Well,
yeah, man. The one thing that I'm struggling with is I'm a short guy. I'm 5'7", and I want to know how you think of fear in a fight, and where should I look? Where should I look at the guy? Because I'm shorter, so I end up. Sometimes I get nervous because I don't know where to look when I'm fighting him. Sometimes I'll look at his feet, sometimes I'll look at his chest. I think you covered it one time, but what do you recommend for me as a shorter guy?
it's interesting that you say that because I remember very specifically in my first professional fight, we both walked out from the ring, and I remember like meeting eyes with the guy and being like, holy shit, we're about to punch each other right in the face. And it was almost slightly fucking awkward. It was almost awkward. Like, now I have to look at your soul as I try to destroy you, basically, and take away everything that you want in life. I tend to focus right around this level, right here. Okay? From that point, you know, even so, one of the things that one of my coaches told me back in the day was to aim for the throat, because if a guy is tucking his chin effectively, a lot of times you'll catch the jaw. Not a bad spot to aim. I tend to like looking at exactly what it is I'm hitting, but if you're kind of focusing right here, you have a pretty good indication of what the guy's shoulders are doing. You don't have a very far deviation from that point to catch solar plexus, and then it's your periphery that's dealing with leg kicks and dealing with shielding, should you need to react to a guy shielding. But that even a kick motion is typically telegraphed by looking at the guy's hips. Okay, you'll see a hip movement of some sort, by the way, and you know that'll allow you to react to that appropriately. So I typically try to focus right around here. That gives me a good indication of which punch is coming or where the guy is moving, and that's that. You know, and as you get better, you can kind of start to disguise your shots based on where you look. For example, one of the things that I used to like doing back when I was first starting is I'd look down at the guy's leg, boom, and I blast him in the leg. And I'd look up at him, and I look at his leg, boom, and I blast him in the leg. And I look down at his leg, and I go, whop, and I throw that third kick right up to the head. Okay, so you give that impetus that the strike is going down low, and then you can go up high. But I'd like you to get to the point that you don't actually have to look at kind of where you're kicking or what you're kicking, especially when it comes to kicks. You know, you kind of want to have a zone that's already honed in, where you know your low kicks are going to cut down low and they're going to cut to a point that's vulnerable on the guy's style. All right, does that make sense? Cool, rock and roll. Anything else?
Oh no, man. Thanks. Just thanks so much, dude. You've done an amazing job with all your programs.
Thank you, man. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for that positive feedback, and much more to come. Hey, Sean, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself, I would appreciate that, my good man, just to eliminate the video hop around. Kevin, what's up, dude? How you doing? Oh, you're muted right now, brother. You got to actually unmute yourself before you can jump in. There it is.
Right on, man. I'm good.
All right, all right. You driving around? Just you on a road trip where you work on the kung fu?
Just getting off work, so I missed the first half, so I don't know what you covered.
It doesn't matter. It's all just a bunch of shenanigans. Anything that you're struggling with or that you wanted to bring up?
Nothing I can think of, man. I've just been enjoying your programs, checking them all out.
Oh, cool, dude. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, if anything pops up that you want to ask, you want to jump in on, let me know.
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, cheers, man. Rock and roll. Mac and Al, I don't even know what that is. I can't even remember the rest of your name. Mac and something. If you want to unmute yourself, jump in, ask a question, by all means, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to the group, and I'm going to see what else is posted here. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that real quick right now. So we talked about the gun, knife thing, blah, blah, blah. So David Sanchez says, hey, Trav, how you doing? I want to ask you something that puzzles me. In most fights, when fighters get really close to each other and there's a lot of action, they forget about having their hands up, and they start swinging from behind, leaving themselves completely open for strikes. Of course, they're using head movement for protection too, but it still surprises me that pro fighters do that. Why do they do it? Well, I'll tell you that you're not see that as much in a boxing match as you would see that in... Hey, Sean, would you mind muting yourself out, buddy? We're getting kind of...
I'm trying to figure this out. I'm sorry.
All good, man. Let me see if I can do it. Every single time oh, there you go. Rock and roll. We're good. You're not going to see that out of pro boxers nearly as much as you're going to see that out of mixed martial arts guys. And the reason is simply that in mixed martial arts, there's so many different things to focus on. You have to spend many more hours than just the act of using your hands and just the act of pulling your hand back to your face in order to throw another hand. Okay, so whereas a boxer can go and spend 2 hours a day on just that, maybe an MMA guy spends only 1 day a week, and that ends up fleeting within the excitement of being in a flurry of punches. So they certainly do get more power, and they're not even worried about telegraphing at that point. Look, you should try to generate power from this position. So there ends up being a moment where your hook will separate from your body as this develops the elastic recoil, boom, and then you fire that hook. You don't need to have that whipped back down here in order to generate power. In fact, you could argue that that's going to create too much of a demand on your bicep to have to be stable, and you're adding length to the lever, which makes it harder to move. You're much better off keeping that super nice and concise, but that's a matter of muscle memory. If you wanted to train to the point that you never did that, I would do a stupid drill. I would do punch sprints. So look, if you wanted to get in really good shape and you wanted to build cardio that was applicable to fighting, you'd be doing yourself a huge service by doing punch sprints of all different kinds. So you can look at a heavy bag and you say, all right, I'm going to throw 60 seconds straight of nonstop 1-2s. I guarantee you're going to look at the clock at the 30-second mark and you're going to want to fucking shit yourself because it's really, really hard. And the second 30 seconds takes forever. A prolonged minute sprint is incredibly difficult. However, you end up dropping into a much deeper energy system within your muscle cells. You burn through your oxygen, you burn through your adenosine triphosphate, you start burning into glycogen stores, and you travel deeper and deeper and deeper, and you completely eradicate all these storage mechanisms that are fueling all of this muscular movement. And then throughout the course of your day, in order to replenish those, your body keeps burning fat, your metabolism stays ramped up. It's the general premise behind a high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, if you want to Google it and look it up in the future, okay? So it's the general premise of completely exhausting every single cardiovascular or non-cardiovascular energy system that you have, and then recovering while moving around, okay? So essentially, burns fat throughout the course of a day, builds ridiculous cardio, builds the concept of sprinting. Because look, sometimes, as you can see in a fight, you're moving around, you're chilling, and then when that flurry happens, you're sprinting, and then you're recovering again. So that's why the active recovery is also really important. It becomes important from a confidence standpoint to know that at any point in a fight, regardless of how tired you are, you can fall back, you can relax your body for a second, you can throw some jabs, you can feint some front kicks, and over the course of about 10 or 15 seconds of movement, you can recover your breath. That's one of the most important things to have in a fight. So a punch sprint followed by enough active rest for you to recover, followed by another punch sprint is a great way to build a number of things, including your physique, so on and so forth. Now, tying this back into what we were originally talking about, which is being protected while you're striking. If you were to do, let's say, a punch sprint of body, body, head, 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 and every single time you're hitting that body, boom, bouncing off, pulling back to the face, low, low, high. Number one, you drop the guy's guard down and then you clip him in the face. So it's a brilliant thing to do. For example, in Sean's circumstance, where I'm recommending to Sean to move in on guys, so that guy goes to throw a spinning back kick, moves in, boom, boom. I would absolutely love that. And have you done enough reps, thousands of reps, because you've done these punch sprints, I don't know, for 2 years at 2 days a week, and therefore you've done 1,000 reps a week for fucking 2 years. You don't have to think about that shit anymore. This will never happen. This doesn't exist because it's not built within your physiology the same way that it has been. Okay? And you just you're not protected. There's no thinking about it. It just happens. That's the whole point of practice. So what I would do is I would try to create a couple series of flurries that seem to make sense to you. Like, what's a good one? I always like uppercut, hook, straight, uppercut, hook, straight, because I like lifting people's heads out of their hands, bop, juggling that head, bop, bop, boom. Okay, do that one. Sprint, back and forth. Straight punches, sprint. Body, body, head, sprint. Concentrate on nothing but that, and then it will never happen again. Don't tell me why pros don't, or don't ask me why pros don't do that, because I was just about to say that I would be doing that, but I watch myself on film, and man, I drop my hands all the time. So, but that's also because I'm not doing punch sprints. I'm outside farming in my overalls, drinking beer with you guys on Saturday. There will not be one single punch sprint done today by me. I guarantee you that. So we'll go ahead and wrap that up. Anyhow, I see we got Henry hopped on the call. Hey, Henry, you there? All right, we got no Henry. If anybody wants to jump out, if you have another question, anything of the sort, feel free to throw it out there now. Otherwise, I'm going to refresh the group, see if anybody posted another question here. Yes, sir. Who's that?
It's Mohammed.
Oh, what's up, buddy?
What's up? I'm really not. So I'm moving along, and I've noticed that the flexibility is horrible. Horrible flexibility.
Aha.
Like super tight. I can do the front kicks really well, especially the teep kicks. Remember the one where you speak about loading the kick and then pushing the guy away? I'm good with that. But when I kick from the side, my groin and my I don't know what to call it, the area near my balls, basically. Is really how do you loosen that up? What type of stretches you do? I've tried everything, and I don't know. Like, it's taking so long.
Okay, so I'm gonna break down some science for you. This will probably conclude the last 7 minutes here. But you can see where my hips are right now. If I can throw my one leg out here on this table, 90 degrees, so I would have to actually sink down a little bit. So right now my torso is up, my foot is out, basically 90 degrees. If I can take one leg out 90 degrees, I should be able to take both legs out. There is no muscle that attaches both of your legs. There is none. So if I can take my one leg out to the side and my hip and my hip socket doesn't stop that from happening, I should be able to do a full split. Why is it that I cannot and you cannot? Muhammad shrugs his shoulders. It's all in your brain. Your brain has predetermined an acceptable range of motion. So, for example, I play with my son 1 minute, I look at him, he's chewing on his foot. It's ridiculous. Not one of us on this call can probably do that. At some point, chewing on your foot no longer interests you. You move on to doing other stuff. You're walking around trying to die in any number of ways, and you just stop doing that. So your brain all of a sudden just, it loses the concept that you are safe picking your foot up to your face. So if I go and I start swinging out my leg out in front of me here, I can feel that, okay, my hamstring starts to tense up right about there. So I keep on swinging. Now I'm able to get a little bit higher, keep on swinging, and eventually I can start kind of bringing my thigh closer to my chest. And now, if I was to try to do the same thing on my left side, I wouldn't get it nearly as high. But I sat there and I showed my brain, I reestablished the range of motion. I said, okay, you're not hurt, you're safe here, and then it eventually gets higher and higher, okay? So the reason that you experience tension in your hamstring or in your groin as you're going out to the side is because your brain is sending a message to that muscle to contract, okay? So the tension is not because your muscles are tight, it's because your brain is saying, ah, what am I going to do? And it stops you, okay? And it's resetting that physiological response that will unlock your flexibility. Unfortunately, the way that people do that is they throw a fucking leg up on something, and then they stretch, and then they stretch, and then they stretch down here. and they don't think that your brain is sophisticated enough to sense movement. You can build flexibility in a static position all you want. As soon as your brain detects your foot is moving through space and time, it is going to send that contraction message, and it's going to stop you from slinging that leg up. So static flexibility does not build active flexibility. The only thing that will allow you to raise your leg up higher and higher is by raising your leg up higher and higher. If I could make a recommendation, I would say Google search Thomas Kurz, K-U-R-Z, and building head kick flexibility. Okay, that guy wrote a book called Stretching Scientifically. Probably have it in here. Yeah, maybe not. Needless to say, in 8 weeks, you can develop maximum dynamic flexibility by training your brain to understand that it can complete those movements. One of the things that he found was you didn't need to do any more than 15 to 20 reps. So by the time you swung this right leg out and you get higher and higher, by the time you hit 15, it should be at its highest point. All right? If you continue to do reps that stop at that highest point, you actually start to reinforce a limitation to your flexibility. Your brain says, oh, I guess I'm not really supposed to go any higher than that, and therefore you hamper your progress. So you get to the point that you're at your highest point within 15 to 20 reps, and then you stop, and then you try to get it higher the next time, but you do not reinforce a limitation. Now, how do we apply that to side kicks? So you got your front kick, and then you're going to want to go out to the side, 15 directly out here to the side. Then just to make sure you're not developing a massive flexibility imbalance, you're going to go ahead and kick out to the rear. So now you're stretching the front of your leg. Now we've stretched the front of the leg, we've stretched the groin, we've stretched the hamstring. That encompasses the basic general range of motion of the leg. Now to me, a roundhouse is the most important weapon to make flexible. And a roundhouse is a weapon that's thrown with a bent knee, slicing your shin across the guy's body or leg or head, ideally. So what I did is I modified that general straight out flexibility to be a heel tuck. So essentially, what I want you to do is, for simplicity, you can just bring your left leg in front or do it from the front leg, stepping forward, boom. And you're just going to try to raise a flat shin. So for almost like if you're trying to bounce a ball straight up with the middle of your shin, that's what I would want you to try to do. Okay? And then your heel is going to come up a little bit more. And it's going to come up a little bit more. And eventually, that leg is now up at the point that it would be blasting people in the head because you've reinforced proper dynamic flexibility through the range of motion that you are trying to build. Okay? So you are not tight. Your brain is tight.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
All right?
Yeah.
So there you go. You're probably going to have to hear that information in another video again when I put out a program on head kicks. But that'll get you started. Every day, unless you are sore. If you're sore, Thomas Kurz recommends that you recover. Okay, soreness is a pretty good indication there's still a good amount of micro trauma going on in your legs. So if you're trying it and you're like, oh my God, I'm pretty tight today, back off, take the day off, and then the next day. So back when I was training every damn day, I would wake up, first thing I'd do, I'd jump rope 5 minutes, speed bag 5 minutes, leg swings to the front, leg swings to the side, leg swings to the rear. 2 sets of 15 usually took me about 5 or 6 minutes. That was my 15-minute warm-up. I had my kicks warmed up, I had my arms warmed up, I bounced around, I got my jump rope in, and that started my day. And when I started doing that, I'm telling you, I spent so much time looking at asses in yoga classes, trying to get flexible enough to throw head kicks. And I swear to God, when I started doing that, it took me like a month. It was like nothing. Okay? So every single day, bang it out, and you will be kicking people in the face. Guys, it's 1 o'clock. It has been a productive hour. I appreciate you all taking some time out of your Saturday to come and talk about martial arts. And I also appreciate all of the positive feedback, very sincerely. Thank you. It really makes it worth it to hear you guys saying that. And it's because of you guys I have probably the coolest job in the world. So I do thank you for that. And otherwise, if you have any questions or if any stuff pops up, write them down in the group or write them down wherever. And that way, if you can make it or not, post them. I promise you it will be included in the call, and we'll just keep rocking and rolling. All right? All right, gentlemen. Rock and roll. No need to unmute yourself to say goodbye. I can see you. I see the salutes. And keep on keeping on. I'll catch you guys next time.